Dan Thor is jamming. No, not his guitar, but his gun. He's out shooting pigeons and coping with the sticky action.
No.
Whatever government the UK gets on the 4th of July 2024, we're getting a new attempt by Westminster to ban trophy imports. Not as easy as Labour and the Tories think. We take a look at the political realities.
I mean, that is the nature of politics, and it's not nice, but it is survival.
Terry Doe has taught kids how to shoot air guns. Can he teach an old dog new tricks? James Marchington attends the Airgun Academy. We have James Head from Crackshot on airgun hunting kit. David has a swingometer on the Fieldsports News stump. And James brings you the latest YouTube hunting films in this week's Hunting YouTube. Welcome to Fieldsports Britain. Dan Thor is having a spot of bother. He's on crop protection, decoying pigeons on a patch of laid barley. The birds don't seem keen on his decoy pattern, but that's not the big problem.
Honestly, I've had enough of this.
It's Sunday, and Dan doesn't want to upset the neighbours with a lot of loud banging while they're soaking up the sun in their gardens. So he's brought along his moderated pump-action 410. It's nice and quiet. Unfortunately, it isn't ejecting properly. The fired cartridges keep jamming in the chamber.
We're completely jammed this time. Oh, can never get that second shot, can we, James? Because the old jamming, that could be a song actually, couldn't it?
Despite it all, Dan is determined to make the best of his day. He sets out his pattern on the laid patch and waits under an oak tree. The undergrowth here is so lush, there is no need to build a hide.
So a few decoys out there at the moment. Hopefully once we pick one up and get a bit of movement, we might be all right. We did, mate. I love this gun.
There are plenty of pigeons moving about, but most of them are passing us by. Dan thinks a bit of movement in the pattern might help.
I'm wondering whether we should go and get the flapper. I reckon just a little bit of movement now, just that little flap, I reckon might just entice them birds in a little bit, you know? Yeah. Because we're getting plenty coming past. They're taking a little look, but they're just not taking a notice of them static decoys too much, are they? So I'll say I reckon, look, there's plenty of birds on the move all the time here. That's a little bit better. You didn't jam up for a change. We've seen plenty of pigeons here. Not disappointed in what we haven't, you know, what we've seen, but they're just not playing ball today. Everything wants to go over to the left-hand side of us. I mean, you can see these pigeons coming now. You know, we tried decoys, we put the flapper out there now, but everything seems to want to get to that field up the top there. And yeah, like I say, we've only come here just for 5 or 10 minutes or so. We've been here an hour, like I say, we've shot 6 or 7, which is not too bad. Yep. We're going to pack up now, mate, and hopefully we can shoot a few on the loose.
We head off to a field of lucerne, which Dan has been watching for several days. This one is near the village church, another good reason to be shooting the Hushpower 410. Once again, the undergrowth makes an ideal hide with no need for netting.
This is where I'll kick a wasp nest now and we get attacked. A lot of pigeons here now, look, they'll come across and straight channels through here hopefully, so we should be able to kill them out in front of us. So we'll get the decoys out, mate, and we'll get cracking, shall we?
Dan has brought a bag of 20-year-old Flexicoid decoys that he bought from a friend who was giving up shooting.
He's a keen fisherman as well, but he hasn't picked his guns up probably 3 years now. So he just thought, what's the point of keeping them and trying to do 2 hobbies at once? So he gave me a call, said he had a load of decoys for sale. So I offered him a little bit of money and yeah, I managed to win it. So yeah, the old Flexicoids, he reckons about 20 years old. And on eBay I used to look at these all the time, think they're expensive. So when he said to me he had 20 of them, I thought, oh, yeah, I'll snatch them up. quite happy the way they're coming in though. You think just with a few static decoys, a few dead birds out there, they're coming in pretty well though. They're coming in just as we said, over the top of that, over the top of them trees and across this city tree, folding up. No! Oh, we're still jamming, James. We're still jamming, mate. Just doesn't like to retract it, like on its shot. Oh. Yeah. I'm getting the hang of the jamming as well. You've got to play the tune to it, haven't we? We've just got to play the tune to it. As soon as I have a single shot, I just kept jamming all day long. But you know, we missed a few, we got a few, and that's the aim of the game. So I thoroughly enjoyed it, and yeah, I will get it out again.
The result, despite the mechanical difficulties, it's a win for the 410.
Yeah, we've managed 27, which is not too bad. Like I say, we had a bit of a slow start on the barley, but once again, if we'd have had the 12 ball and perhaps a better setup on that, we probably would have kicked off and shot a few more there. But you know, you can't get anything better, can you? Gun in hand, we're out in the sun, out in the countryside, enjoying it.
You can follow Dan on Instagram, link below, and for Jack Pike clothing, see jackpike.co.uk. Thank you, Dan, the Bob Marley of pigeon shooting. Now, in this week's Fieldsports Extra, we go behind the scenes of this week's show: a pigeon shooter, a South African, and two blokes on a bench.
He is a cyclist, isn't he? He's a cyclist even when he's not cycling.
Plus prize this week is one of 3 Jack Pike Tundra jackets, and there's a link to them below. I'm wearing one right now. Become a Fieldsports member now with insurance. You get Fieldsports Extra every week on Tuesdays, the night before this show. Watch Fieldsports Extra and you can find out how to enter our competition. Link to that below. Next up, our very own Arctic Monkey. It's David on the Fieldsports channel News Stump.
This is Fieldsports Channel News. The Great Britain shooting team for the Olympics in France has been announced. Amber Rutter will shoot skeet in Paris just a couple of months after giving birth to her son. The former World Cup gold medalist is joined in the team by trap shooters Matt Coward-Holly and Nathan Hales. European silver medalist Lucy Hall will shoot women's trap in France. In the air rifle section, Michael Bergeron and Shona McIntosh will represent Team GB's medal hopes. The team hopes there will be more support on the ground this time after competing under COVID restrictions in Tokyo in 2020.
I think for me the difference between this one and the last one is going to be actually having people there. I think the atmosphere is going to be a completely different beast to try and deal with, so it's going to be like having the first games all over again but with a bit more experience behind me, so no, I'm looking forward to it.
The Scottish Government says it wants grouse moor licensing underway before the start of the season, which is just over a month away. But it still hasn't got the licensing website ready. Nature Scott says the applications will provisionally open on the 15th of July 2024, less than a month before the start of the grouse season. Basque is urging members who need to apply to be ready and has voiced fears that Nature Scott is running down the clock. It warns that there remain concerns about processing applications. The Scottish Government is risking jobs, livelihoods and the rural economy with its failure to put in place the system it brought in with its Wildlife Management and Muirburn Act earlier in the year. It's not able to publish its statutory code of practice for grouse moor management until the 12th of July, and it has bumped its sanctions against Muirburn until 2025. The expected trail hunting ban that commentators expect will come in with the new government may not be as close as people think. That's the view of former MP Neil Parish, who is convinced Labour will win the election. He says that Sir Keir Starmer will have to play a clever game to help keep the left of the party happy when it comes to legislation over trail hunting.
Remember that Tony Blair had 700 hours debating hunting and about 30 hours as to whether we went to war with Iraq. So that is what I think Keir Starmer will do, and I think it will take time, and I just fear that we will have a lot of people interfering with what's happening with the trail hunting, following it all, getting evidence and debating it in Parliament.
The Countryside Alliance has urged any new government to overhaul firearms licensing before imposing a tax on gun owners. A report in this week's Daily Telegraph hints that the new Labour government plans to increase the cost of licence applications. In its manifesto, the party dropped its public safety responsibility and says it expects to raise £20 million per year by making the firearms licensing process cost neutral, with the proceeds funnelled into crime prevention schemes. The Tories claim that the change will cost gun owners hundreds of pounds in additional fees. The article says the fee for a renewal due every 5 years could rise from £50 to £400.
What we're saying is that if you're going to increase the cost of firearms licensing, you have to do that after you've reformed the system. We'll pay for a proper, efficient system. And if that's not the case, then what will happen is that firearms licenses will become extraordinarily expensive, exclude many people from shooting, and reduce the number of gun owners, which in turn will increase further the cost of licensing. If Labour thinks that this is a simple pot that it can go into and pull out cash to pay for other things, it's very wrong, and it needs to be very careful about its approach.
Meanwhile, Basque has raised concern about the number of people applying for shotgun and firearm certificates. New government figures reveal that in the 12 months to the end of March 2024, the number dropped by 1% to just over 500,000. Around 5% of the certificates went to new applicants, showing strong underlying demand for guns in the UK. Meanwhile, police revoked 500 firearm certificates and 1,500 shotgun certificates, with revocations up by 30%. Basque believes several factors are to blame, including delays in processing applications by UK police forces. Martin Parker, Basque's head of firearms, says there are still up to a dozen forces who are taking more than a year to process new applications and renewals.
If you don't get new people into the sport, how does your sport continue? And you know, I think we need to remember that the recent publication, Value of Shooting, this is something which brings 3.3 billion into the economy. And it's not just obviously the people in shooting, but when you delay new people coming in, if people are waiting a long time to actually get their certificates, there is a knock-on effect to the businesses that are affected, particularly in the gun trade and things like that.
Former Manchester United and England footballer David Beckham is in the centre of a salmon fishing row in Norway. These wobbly pictures from social media appear to show Beckham fishing for salmon in the River Lardal. It's one of 33 rivers where salmon angling has been banned by the Norwegian government to protect dwindling fish stocks. Norwegian media reports say Beckham wasn't fishing illegally, as he'd been granted a special dispensation by the local governor. Hunters in New Zealand have killed 340 feral cats in an annual cull in order to help protect wildlife. Wild cats like these were added to the roster of target species in a North Canterbury hunting event last year. Those who've encountered them describe the cats as being like the devil on meth when cornered. The event is designed to raise funds and awareness about the threat posed to some of New Zealand's indigenous wildlife. The total number of cats shot in the competition exceeded last year's total by 100. There are believed to be 2.5 million feral cats living in New Zealand's South Island. The wild cat population originated from escaped or dumped domestic cats. New Zealand is estimated to have the largest population of domestic cats per capita in the world. Thanks to Nigel Gavin for the story. The Game and Wildlife Conservation Trust is running a summer campaign of clay shooting and other fundraising events. The GWCT has been at the forefront of conservation work linked to shooting for the past 90 years. Among fundraisers is Blazing Barrels Clay Shoot at Launceston in Cornwall raised more than £3,000. The money will be used to help promote GWCT initiatives and fund scientific research. Ely Hawk and Warrington Park Equestrian sponsored the event. You can see more about the GWCT fundraising events by clicking the link below.
It's mainly a fundraising event, but it's also a chance for us to get our message in front of a new audience. Raise a bit of money. We've raised about £3,000 from that, but we also have material around because one of our challenges is the number of people who don't seem to have heard of GWCT. So always keen to get in front of new people.
If people aren't having fun doing it, they're not going to do it. So at the end of the day, it is about money, but there's got to be community as well, otherwise money wouldn't be coming in.
And finally, scientists in Russia are examining the carcass of an ancient wolf to see how it lived and survived 44,000 years ago. The body of the animal was found in permafrost in northern Russia. It's well preserved enough by the ice to allow experts and the Northeastern Federal University to examine internal organs and determine it was a male. They may be able to find out what the wolf ate and determine other lifestyle traits. From one old and slightly dishevelled creature to another, you are now up to date with Fieldsports Channel News. Stalking the stories, fishing for facts.
Thank you, David. And David asks politely if you could remember to like and subscribe under our films. Thank you. Now, instead of me plugging Fieldsports membership, now with insurance, I'm going to leave it to some wonderful gun shops who are supporting us with reminders in store. Top of the class goes to Ian Hodge. Nice presentation, well situated. Again, good job from Bailey's. Bringing up the rear is Cluny Country Store with its highly prized eye-level urinal advertising spot. You can scan the QR code, probably one-handed in Cluny's case, and it'll take you to our membership page where you can join up. Not only will you be covered by insurance, you'll support us as we head into uncharted waters. Talking of which, next, Terry Day makes airguns the subject at his University of the Third Age.
So, James.
Yeah.
After knowing each other for
A million years.
far too long,
Yeah.
welcome to Old Dog's New Tricks.
Yeah, I'll be
As
the
my
old dog.
You're the old dog, but a very well-regarded old dog.
Oh, thank you.
First of all, self-diagnosis.
Yes.
You've been shooting every bit as long as I have. and
Yep.
You're a multi-platform shooter, unlike me. I'm 99% air guns. You do shotguns, full-bore, rimfire, and air guns.
Yep.
If you wanted to fix one thing about your shooting, what would it be?
I shoot a little bit of everything,
Right?
so I never really get good at one thing, and each one interferes with the other.
James of all trades.
Yeah, and
Okay.
you know, actually, contrary to what people believe, I spend more time behind a computer or a camera than behind a gun.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would say I'm not especially good at any one thing, and like I say, they do interfere with each other. So, you know, I pick up an air gun, and I'm somewhere at the back of my mind, I'm looking to shoot it like a shotgun,
Right.
and that's not good.
That gives me a good clue. So
Right.
what we're talking about is time, because once you've selected your target with a shotgun, it's moving,
Yeah.
and you've got several seconds and only a few seconds to engage it, or it's going to be out of range.
Yeah.
So would you say then that in engaging, say, a squirrel attacking any one of the fruit trees around this fine estate, would you hurry rather than take your time? Are you worried about it?
I'm not hurrying in the sense that if I've crept up on it or it's in the tree nibbling on fruit, that's fine. But it's going to be skittish. It's going to be moving
Right.
around. It's not just sitting still in one place. So I'm trying to follow it around,
Right.
predict where its head's going to be in a few seconds' time, and then I'm thinking, as soon as I'm on it, I think, right, I've got to get this shot away because otherwise
It's gonna
it'll
go.
miss its head.
Well, that's brilliant. That's a great opener, because we'll start then with the absolute fact that one skittish animal in this scenario is enough. Okay, we don't want two, with the second one being you. So what we'll do, we can't do a lot about the squirrel. We can bait him in and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But what we'll do is address the mindset that most people have, most hunters have.
Yeah.
They think the time they have to shoot is dictated by how long their target is going to hang around. And that's it's a natural thing when you think about it. It isn't. So the first lesson that I'd like to implant today is that your time you have at your disposal is exactly the time it takes for you to become as stable as you can to deliver your best shot.
Yeah.
Now that's a good thing, because we can train. We can train. Now, whether you're like me, you use sticks a lot.
Yeah.
And with sticks give you all the angles you need and the stability you need. But to deploy them smoothly, to use them smoothly and effectively, if you can train yourself and get the routine going all the time with your eyes on your quarry, remember.
Yeah.
So you're not like a target shooter who can look around himself, find the best bit to put his beanbag down on and all that. So you're engaging the quarry with your eyes, and the more you get familiar with deploying the sticks and getting your body in the right position to use them properly, in about between 3 and 4 seconds. That's all it takes.
Yeah.
So there's something to train at. The other viewers might want to train to see how smoothly they can get in the kneeling position or the prone position or whatever position is apt at the time. But the important thing is the mindset. The mindset is my time is not governed by my target. My time is governed by how long it takes me to get into a position to release my best shot.
Yeah.
That makes sense, doesn't it?
It does make sense.
Good. Well, so what we'll do is we'll do a little bit of training with the sticks.
Right.
And so we can cut the faff factor down a bit, and we can do it with eyes off, eyes on the quarry, and then if we achieve that in one go, that'll be worthwhile, and we'll move on to the next module. So instead of sort of wobbling about figure of 8-ish, what we're going to do is get it somewhere near, breathe in deeply, pause, let it out until the crosshair aligns with the target, pause, squeeze the trigger. Perfect.
Thanks, Terry and James. Next, the election tomorrow, and who thinks there's any difference between Labour and the Tories? One of the subjects they agree on is to try to ban us from going abroad to hunt. Here's where they are on that. It's familiar territory. Western politicians, celebrities and animal rights groups are jumping on the ban bandwagon to stop something most of them don't understand. This time it's a bill which the Westminster government plans to introduce. Despite cross-party enthusiasm, former Conservative MP Neil Parish doesn't think that introducing a ban on hunting trophy imports will be easy. He says it will take away freedoms for people to hunt overseas and affect essential wildlife management at those destinations.
I've seen on the Quantox where the League Against Cruel Sports have had far too many deer there, and those deer have gone hungry and starved. And so, you do need a proper management system. And I think this is, I suppose, where the argument comes down to. If you can actually put forward a very good, cogent argument about the management of the wildlife in that particular country that you are hunting, then there is a reason for keeping that.
Neil sees it as a Department of the Environment or DEFRA matter. One thing the West hasn't bargained for is increasing resentment from African leaders who see the laws as wealthy Western countries once again imposing rules that affect their people. That escalates the issue from DEFRA to the Foreign Office.
They will naturally take the issue of Africa and those states very seriously. We're also looking at more trade agreements with our former Commonwealth countries and others. So don't forget, all of this could be linked in. So if you could link it into trade as well as diplomacy, then I think it would become a much wider issue. And then I think with a Labour government, that is going to get this country growing like mad, they're going to create a growth economy. Well, they're going to need to grow everywhere, aren't they?
For a long time, you didn't have the pushback from the African countries as such. They were pretty much tolerant of it, but this whole thing of colonialism and apartheid and Western worlds trying to dictate and rule everything. Here in South Africa, we sit with 11 official languages. And each one of those is with a different tribe. And so, it's not racism that's is prevalent, it's tribalism, because one tribe still feels they're dominant over another tribe. And, so there you've got that internal conflict with them as well. The common enemy at this stage is anybody that says, we should be doing things like the West does things.
There have been several failed attempts to push through a ban. One of the animals mentioned in a recent bill is polar bears, which the International Union for the Conservation of Nature currently classifies as vulnerable, not endangered. Government-sanctioned polar bear hunting quotas mean the Inuits in Canada can sell hunting tags to foreigners, which injects cash into their communities and also provides meat and fat from the bears. Despite what animal rights activists claim, the same goes for animals hunted in Africa.
There's no difference between trophy hunting and normal meat hunting. The objective is there. An animal is being harvested. It's just the use that is different at the end. Everything's being used. But that's not the perception, with a lot of people. They literally think trophy hunters go out, shoot an animal, just take its skin and horns and leave everything there. Where the meat hunter goes out and he utilizes everything.
With that in mind, Parish believes battles over ballot boxes are little different from wildlife conflicts on the Arctic tundra and the plains of Africa, with MPs motivated by their basic instincts.
If you're in a seat where you're under pressure, you will always take what you believe to be the popular or the populist approach, especially if you can find arguments for banning trophy hunting, albeit there's some good arguments for maintaining it. And I think that is the nature of politics. And it's not nice, but it is, again, survival.
The two main UK political parties have both made manifesto commitments to banning trophy hunting imports, or as we see it, trying to replace African wildlife with cattle, because that's the first result if it becomes law. For more on this subject, have a look at the Safari Club International website, safariclub.org. Now from the world's biggest game to the smallest, James Head gets himself airgun hunting ready. You've got your airgun, your scope and your pellets, but still those farmyard ferals and hedgerow rabbits elude you. Here's James Head from Devon and online airgun shop Crackshot, kitting up and becoming a fully operational airgun hunter for less than £300. First up, face mask.
Mask is the first thing you need. You want to try and cover the whites of your face. This is a buff mask. It's quite a thin one, doesn't make you look buff. Birds especially corvids will see you. Magpies and stuff are very jittery, they're very clever, very sharp. These are around the £25 mark. This is a pellet pouch, so I would use one of these just to help keep the pellets contained when static shooting, hide shooting, or just walking around. Saves trying to dig around in your pockets to get your pellets out. You can just keep your pellets in your pouch, take them out, pop them in your gun, or fill up your magazine or whatever. Just keeps everything contained and an easy place to grab rather than a tin of pellets rolling around, rattling around in your pocket. A little bit quieter. These are about the £30 mark. They are slightly cheaper. I think it's it's £25 for the smaller one. Starting to carry quite a lot of stuff. I definitely have a backpack on me. This will help me keep a few extra spares, possibly a toolkit, things like that. And if I do shoot anything and I want to take it home, I can pop it in my backpack and I've still got everything free. It's a bit easier than carrying a game bag. Backpack, you're about the £35 mark. These trigger sticks are brilliant, absolutely spot on, especially being able to just quickly move them around. It's very, very useful, and they're almost silent. You also, with the 3 legs, it's a bit better than having just 2 legs. Roughly £185 so far. This is a shooting cushion. I would use this if going to do some static shooting, or if I'm shooting in a hide. It's just nice to have on me if I want to sit down and start shooting, especially off of sticks or anything. I can just sit down, do a bit of static shooting, a little bit more comfortable than just sitting on the floor. If I was just walking around doing a little bit of woodland shooting, maybe I wouldn't use one, but 9 times out of 10 I would take one of these, clip it to my backpack with a carabiner that's supplied, and I can just have that on me. It's very light. Yeah, it's bulky, but it doesn't take up a lot of weight. It's quite easy to carry. This is a pop-up hide. I can go and set it up wherever I feel like I want to just sit down and set this hide up, and I can do a bit of static shooting and be fully covered in. Pop-up hide, £65. £280 and you've got a full setup. Nearly.
For more about Crackshot, its range of airguns and its ranges where you can try them out, visit crackshot.uk. Thank you, James. All the gear that Crackshot offers. Next up, from kit to the wider world of hunting and shooting on YouTube, brought to you by James Marchington, it's Hunting YouTube.
This is Hunting YouTube, which aims to show the latest and best hunting and shooting videos that YouTube has to offer. And what a varied selection I've got for you this week. First, can Peter Jones really be hunting a British roebuck with a bow? Well, no, because that would be illegal. But bow hunting is popular around the world, and Peter looks into the best bows and arrowheads for deer and asks if it might one day be legal once again in Britain. Next, Braden Price is in Africa on the hunting trip of a lifetime. And yes, he's using a bow as well as a variety of firearms to hunt everything from baboons to warthog and kudu in this extended hour-and-a-half episode. Over to the States, where Python Cowboy and his dogs are after a big feral hog that's causing mayhem on a Florida golf course. It's pretty brutal, but they get the job done, then head off to deal with some pythons. In Wyoming, they're using trained dogs to lure in coyotes. Very effectively, too. With skill and patience, they end up getting the whole pack. Now, just supposing you were setting off for 5 days bear hunting in Montana, what would you pack in your rucksack? Here's a complete kit rundown from Zach Boughton. Meanwhile, in Australia, Chris Waters and his friend Jan are hunting billy goats in Queensland. This is a bonus episode from a much longer video that chronicles an Australian camel hunt, which is also worth a look. Thanks to Keith from Pest Control and Deer Management UK who sends us this one. He helps out a keeper who's having trouble with lampshy foxes, and it's interesting to see how these foxes react when he turns on the IR. Finally this week, Rob Speed is competing with the likes of Dan Thor and Andy Crow at the Jack Pike English Open competition at Sporting Targets in Bedfordshire. For a while he thinks he's in with a chance of winning, but then it all goes horribly wrong. That's it for this week. I've put all these films into a playlist for you. Click on the eye symbol top right or check this film's description. If you have a YouTube film you'd like us to pop into the weekly top 8, email me the link, jamesm@fieldsportschannel.tv.
Thanks, James, and thanks for watching. We are dedicating this week's show to one of our earliest supporters, Robin Harrowsmith from Mull, stalker, lifeboatman, Fieldsports member, died unexpectedly aged 52 last week, and our thoughts here at Fieldsports Channel are with his widow Louise. To all of you, and wherever you are, Robin, good hunting, good shooting and good fishing.